can do with HTTP parameters. We're going to get into an example of actually using them. So I'm going to go into my into the GitHub source here, so GAE Web Dev, and from there we're going to go to step 3. So we're just going to change directory to step 3. And if we look at the files here, we have a walkthrough, and this is going to be the last time we use one of these teach me files. From here out, we'll just get into the code. But for now, we'll take a look at this one. So teachmeparameterswalkthrough.md. And there we go. So we have a couple of different things here that we can take a look at. You can see there's an index HTML file, and we can see that we have the form element, and we have some of the content there, some input fields. And if we run this example, we should be able to see how this actually operates. So if I change my directory to GAE project, and we can see there's a couple of things there. So we'll have an app.yaml, we'll have a main.py, and let's go ahead and take a look at those. So we can edit the app.yaml file, give that a moment to open up, and you can see here, well, there's not much to it. It's just going to take anything in that static folder and map it to the URL /s, and then everything else is going to go to our Python script. And then let's take a look at the main.py. So here you can see we have some Python code. You can see all of that there. And this is going to have some of the responses, some of the things that we might want to see. And if we have our main page here, we can see, it's got it's going to redirect us to this main page. So main page, if we take a look at that, that's going to be S index. So that's going to be in our static folder. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So we will say edit static / index.html. Now we can see this one. So you can see plain HTML file here. It's about 50 lines long, and we have a typical head, and we have a body, we have a header, we have a heading, we have a nav area. Nav is one of those semantic elements. It doesn't actually do anything. It just sort of separates our content. And we have a couple of different links here. But if we look at our form, we're going to start with a form here, and that's what you're going to see in this section here. This form is going to have some input fields. It's going to have a number field. It's going to have this submit, and this is going to render on our page. And you can see there's also another form here. This one's going to have a post request. So if we go back to our terminal and we run our dev app server. Should be up in just a moment. There we go. So we can take a look at that. And now you can see we have, we can enter something here. Let's say elephant and a number, say 6789. And if we send a get, you can see we're going to get this response here. You entered elephant and the number 6789. And the way that's actually being processed, if we go to our editor, we can go back to our main py file, and we had our we had where this is actually sending. This form is going to send action to the action send get. So if we look at where we actually have that URL mapped here, our route to send get, here's our function. We're going to retrieve the get parameters here, and we can also use values, but this is going to contain both the post and get parameters, but we'll focus on doing this sort of the straightforward, the more direct way here. And then the page is actually going to say here's our parameters, so our param1 and our param2. So nothing too crazy there. And then we're going to send back a response that is going to be HTML, and it's going to be our main content. So this main content, long string here. But note that there is this one spot where we can parameterize something. So this %s is going to allow us to insert some content. So we're going to send back HTML, server interaction examples, all this stuff, and then we're going to include this message here, which is exactly what we see. We see you entered elephant in 6789. And we can actually manipulate this directly. So we could say this is lion and 0. And the other interesting thing is that, in our HTML, we were actually preventing the user from entering something that's not a number here. So I can't enter letters, I can't, it has to be a number. And And this is one of the reasons why it's good to validate on the client, but it's also good to validate inputs on the server, because if I send this, it's going to work out fine. But if I come up here to where it says number field and I enter something like not a number, it's going to be fine. We're not actually validating that on the server, so that's actually kind of a mistake. If we want that to be a number, we should be doing something in our main.py, something like checking to see if this is a number, parsing it to see if it's a number. That way we actually can make sure that that's the right content. But yeah, this kind of shows how you can manipulate the get parameters, because they're just right out there on the URL. Here we have input field and here we have number field. They're just right there on the URL. So that's kind of a quick example there of the get. If we want to take a look at the get parameters, we already checked that one out. Now, if we look at the post, we can go back to our index.html and you can see the post form is here, and it only has one element. That's a text area. I don't know why, in particular, the text area is a separate element and input is, all of the other, or almost all the other elements are input and then a type. It seems like it would be more consistent if it was like input type select and then you had the options, or input type text area. But, again, they didn't consult me when they were developing the HTML spec. So, but text area is kind of a separate element here. And you can see with text area, we're going to have one field, input field, and this is going to come back as a post. And this is going to go to send post. So if we look at our main py, we don't have that same simple ability to manipulate the parameters via the URL. All we're going to do here is tell the user what we actually received. But if I try to type in send post here, I'm going to get a method not allowed. So that's, and if I look at my terminal, it should, actually, the terminal should give me a bit of information here. It looks like send post. Yeah, and then it received a 405. So that's the response code there. So you can see get send post HTTP 1.1 retrieved or resulted in a 405. Methods not allowed. So if we go back here and we go to the main page and we type something in here, this is some text, and we send a post, you can see post parameter was received. So the only real difference between the get and the post as far as our Python code is concerned is that we use flask.request.form instead of flask.request.args. So straightforward there. We're doing the same kind of thing. We're just returning a Flask response using that main content string here, that big long HTML string that we're constructing all of our responses with, and then inserting that one little message into it. So not too bad there. Now, if we want to look at the URL path parameters, you can see here, this is going to show you how this is going to work. So we have a couple of these. The first one is going to be path page with just one parameter. So if we go back to our example, if we have a page using a path, you can see here, the extra part of the path is something. So anything that goes to path page is going to have this additional value. And, this could be something else. This could be, a username. And you can see that's automatically picking that up off of the URL and presenting it as a parameter. And because we've got this notation here using Flask, this angle bracket notation, we can just add that as a parameter to the function. So you can see doing the same kind of thing. We're just inserting that into the main content string and then giving back a Flask response with a HTML type. And you can see, just sort of adds that path, and we can modify that however we like. And we can do that with additional path values. So here we have a longer path, and with the longer path, we have path 1, path 2, path 3. This could also be A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3, or 3, 2, 1, really. It doesn't matter, it just allows us to take those sections of the path and then utilize those as parameters. So here you can see, we're just getting page content, page content, page content. And the cool thing is that, this is going to allow us to maybe only use 2, but the problem is that if we only use 2, we're actually not going to reach this URL. So because this has all of these elements, when we type in just 2 elements or just even 0 elements, it's not going to find that. So we actually have to type in all 3 of these. So 1, 2, 3 in order for that to work. But you can see here, this will allow you to take some information from the user, information from the browser, and actually send that on to the server so that you can process it, so that you can handle it. So yeah, so there you go. Now we can close down our server. Just hit Control-C. That'll close down your dev app server, and you should be good to go. Thanks for watching this video. The next one we'll do another quick example, just kind of showing you how you might use some of these parameters in a little bit more of a practical application.